Hello to Talkin Jake with myself, Jake Storielli, Big Baby David Mendelson, as we head into the second half of the baseball season. Little Friday for you. We tried to pre-record for All-Star Game. We got that Bailey up in, and then we're like, oh, I actually need that for today. So we got a little backed up, but we left a banger for you this week, the Trevor Plouffe episode.
You guys like him?
The numbers don't lie. And if you give a clickbait thumbnail, you will get the clicks. And Trevor was fine, too. Although there was one, the comments were awesome. There was one comment that cut me deep that was Talkin Jake hosted by Trevor Plouffe because he carried this episode. Not that I still think about it. Not that it's still on my mind. Same with my hair right now for all the YouTubers. And Golf Clap's 20K subs on YouTube. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate that. And, of course, our friends over at Dan Patrick. But we need to talk about baseball because it's the second half. It starts tonight. No Thursday games anymore out of the All-Star break. They used to hit us with like 3.
Yeah, at least one.
I'm kind of okay with it. It is a gap.
I think that's pretty universally liked by the fellas, so
maybe it would
I support it.
Maybe one game would be cool. That obviously sucks for that team, but maybe like whoever's got the least travel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Feels like there's a solution there.
You know, if they kept that, it would be Yankees every year.
That's okay.
Which I'm fine with.
I like them. We'll talk about them a little bit. We'll go through some All-Star game. We'll walk you guys through the weekend a little bit, some of the highlights. Some of you like that. I guess before we get to that, we'll just do some broad second half baseball. There's an ESPN article with second half preview, some rankings and playoff odds. We'll hop in there a little bit. I did want to check out some strength of schedule, first of all, because I would hear people reference it, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's a good piece of information. But I never really knew where to find it. The best place I've currently found is Fangraphs. If you go to their playoff odds page, one of the columns is strength of schedule. And there's some interesting things to note in there. I'm looking for my perfectly imperfect strength of schedule analysis, that the algorithm would be something along the lines of like season win percentage and then like last 10 game win percentage, and that would go into a formula. Because like the Yankees just played the Orioles going into the All-Star break. But did they? Like they played an Orioles team that, with help to the Yankees, came up against a 6-game losing streak. But also, like, if you played the Yankees in May, you faced a very different team than if you faced the Yankees in July or end of June. So that's where I'm still, if one of the Talkin Jake analytics nerds wants to get involved and give, like, strength of schedule versus strength of schedule at time of playing, it's a stat that you almost can't do, but I'm interested in it. Strength of schedule the rest of the way. I think some things to know. As I just told you, I mean, I'm not bound to strength of schedule, but it tells us something. And I don't know. The top 3 teams in strength of schedule, because I will say at 4 and 5 are the Rockies and the Marlins, who, if you wanted to, you could drop the obnoxious, well, they can't play them. But again, it's one team in the rest of your second half schedule. Top 3 teams in strength of schedule the rest of the way. The Boston Red Sox, 514 win percentage. The Tampa Bay Rays and the Cleveland Guard Dogs. So if you are into that kind of thing, the Red Sox, who have been surging lately and are becoming a well-liked team in the American League, they've had a ton of injuries. I'm not going to put a ton of merit in this just because the Red Sox have done a lot of their bidding to get to this point of the season against good teams. They took down the Yanks. They took down the Phillies. I think there's a Braves series in there. Like they've played some of the heavy hitters and they've competed. So I'm not going to super hold that against them. That does make me worried for the Rays. I've been trying to buy a little bit of Rays stock. The phrase I keep saying is the names are changing. Like Brandon Lau, Josh Lowe. Randy has started to go. Yandy started to go for a little bit there. Isak, always going. Although Chris Rose traded him, go check out the trade deadline draft episode on Talkin Baseball. One of the best pieces of content of the year. This makes me nervous for my Rays. I thought there was going to be more coming, and maybe there is. You never fully know with them, but seeing that strength of schedule and them limping as hard as they could to get to 500. At first, I saw their 500 going into the break is like, good for the Rays. Like, to say we're at 5-0 going into the All-Star break, that's huge for how gnarly of a first half it was for them originally. But it seems like they'll be up against it a little bit. The other team, so your top three before you get to Rockies, Marlins, Blue Jays. The Cleveland Guard Dogs. And man, some of the Fangraphs win percentage stuff doesn't like them for how dominant they've been. It has the Cleveland Guardians as a 53.6% to win the division. So, I mean, that's close to a coin flip. There's a lean there. But, man, I just think not contradiction, the ESPN article that I mentioned, that I think they had a bunch of writers contribute, so that's why I'm not referencing a writer. My guy Bradford Doolittle was involved. Oh, but we got a ton of guys in here. Okay. They put the Cleveland Guardians in the first category of teams, the quote-unquote Big Five, where they have the Phillies, who deserve Big Five recognition for the first half of this season. The Yankees, which as much as we mentally have been fighting lately, sure, Yankees have been great, which means the Orioles are in there. Yep. The Dodgers, And then they threw the Guard Dogs in as the Big Five, which I don't know if I fully agree with that. There's some good arguments there. They clearly have a top of the lineup and other contributors throughout the lineup, offensively and defensively. Their bullpen is numero uno, so if that continues to ride, that's a pretty strong pillar of a team. But in Tier 2, if you're going to put the Brewers, Brewers and Guard Dogs have felt like a 1A, 1B all year. And also the Braves they put in a tier below them, which I just can't do that. Maybe that's me being just a mental sheep. Time of year to talk like that. I don't know. I don't have the Guards up there. Chris Rose, who watches as much baseball as anyone and loves his Guards, he's been trying to pump the brakes a little bit. There's a little fear factor of their starting pitching, which has been not great all year, but you could spin that as a good thing. Like, they're going to have guys that they can call up, even guys you're familiar with. Tristan McKenzie got sent down. Like, does it click for him? Are they going to do the trade? The Cleveland fans not happy with our trade deadline draft episode because, A, nobody cares about the rules when they see a graphic. And B, I don't know what to think with the Guardians. Like, yes, they should trade for help and add. Is it a team that feels like they're going to sacrifice the big pieces to move to attack 1 year? No. Like, they've never done that. They've never done that. At least in the recent, post-pandemic. That feels like recent history. That I don't know. Seeing the Guardians, the Rays, and the Red Sox up there, I guess I've just got Red Sox blinders on where I don't feel that too much. Rays and Guards, I feel just a little bit. Because I want to see, who do they have? Who else in the Central? They have the Twins at 38.2% to win the division. That's a big boy number. And the Royals at 7.5%. That's tough. Sorry, Royals. And I don't know. I guess if I was DraftKings spinning this, if you were a Twins believer, I think there's a nice little sprinkle to be put in for them to win the division. The Twins lineup right now is a problem. And that's saying it in a cool, a cool, hip, young guy way. I really like where the Twins lineup is at right now, between Miranda finding it, their lefties / switch hitters being consistent, Buxton turned on. That if Buxton and Royce Lewis go, which Royce Lewis has been out, like even if Eddie Julian, imagine if something kicks in with his swing again and they call him up. He was supposed to be their leadoff guy this year. The Twins have lineup options, and you know that's what Lil Poppy likes. That if you're a Guardian, if you're not about the Guards and you're about the Twins, there could be a little sprinkle there. The other one that I've stumbled into that I don't believe in, I believe in less, but this is more so if you like playing the odds. So let's reverse engineer this a little bit. Let's look at the, what would you say, the weakest strength of schedule? But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The best strength of schedule in a bad. The weakest strength of schedule.
The weakest schedules left.
Bottom of the list, San Francisco Giants. Hey, do something crazy. Not in on them. That's kind of rude. But hey, if you're a Giants hopeful, you could put that little feather in your cap. Right above them, the Chicago Cubs, which I don't. Both of those teams, in the words of Joe's McFly, are none of my business at this point. I don't really believe in either of them. Maybe this is why. Maybe I need to be more of a schedule snob. Maybe for one of these teams it's going to click. Great. Not into it. The next two teams get me a little more jazzy fizzle. The Atlanta Braves. They have a 490 opponent strength of schedule the rest of the way. And the New York Yankees at 492. So, I guess for the Braves, I mean, that division lead is massive. The Phillies have shown no signs of fading. We've seen the Braves put together a big second half before. Their World Series year, they went nuts. The offense started to click. They made a couple ads that they were the best offense in baseball the second half of the season. They pretty much rode that all the way to a title, and it was without Ronald Acuna. So I don't know if you're a Braves person and you think the Phillies could slip up just a little bit, who are listed as the 7th strongest strength of schedule the rest of the way. Again, this has Philly with the highest chance to win the division right now, 87%. 87, that's higher than the Dodgers, 85.3. Then it's Brewers, Guardians, Yankees, Mariners, Astros, Orioles, Twins, and then everyone else is less than. Twins are at 38.2%, Orioles 42.5%, so I mean them in the Yankees. Coin toss-ish with the Red Sox getting some percentage points. I don't know. I'm interested to see, because I am a strength of schedule believer, especially when you see it. You know, talking baseball, we essentially live week by week, if not series by series. That when you see a team and their schedule coming up is Marlins Athletics, tend to think a big week is coming. White Sox, I think the Nationals have unfortunately joined that party. But if you see a week where a team is playing Yankees, or I'll take the Yankees out of it. If you see a team playing Braves Orioles, you don't look at that week the same way. But going back to my strength of schedule thing that I'm trying to figure out before, if you played Houston in April or not April, how do you measure that? Houston's win percentage right now is not impressive, but the past 2 months it is. So, like, they don't score that right. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'd like it.
I mean, thinking selfishly about the Yankees, they got their Houston games out of the way. I'm sure some teams, their numbers slightly screwed if they have 7 games left versus Houston, whose strength of schedule number, because that's just their winning percentage, is going to be lower than their real life, what they're doing. I don't know.
Someone become part
it's an
of
opportunity.
Become part of my analytics department, and we could take down all of baseball. Man, I don't know, from the strength of schedule. So yeah, I guess those are my biggest ones there. I guess I'm excited for my Yankees, and I think that's the only reason they are favorited above the Orioles by Fangraphs the rest of the way. Orioles are sitting very middle of the pack, 502 win percentage the rest of the way, where the Yankees are at 492. So, I mean, those numbers they don't feel significant enough, but they are.
Yep. One's literally in the middle, and one is very close to be top of the line.
Yeah, and I guess when you think of it, the Red Sox, who have the hardest strength of schedule the rest of the way at 514 win percentage, that's the difference between a team right now that is a borderline, a fringy playoff team, if not in the National League, where 487 is a team that's out and like not liked right now. Like I was just tough on the Cubs and the Giants. That's where their win percentages are at. So, and what's our player comp for that other tier? The Mets, which again, that's another case study of when have you played them. And like the Houston Astros, Cardinals, they just kind of cleared that. So some interesting strength of schedule scope there that I'm interested to see how much I care about it in the second half of this season. I think the other things of note, going back to that ESPN article, that they tiered it out in 5 tiers. I told you the big 5. Phillies, Yankees, Dodgers, Orioles, Guards. Established contenders was their tier 2. With the Braves, Twins, Astros, Red Sox, Mariners, and the Royals. I don't know. It's an interesting label for them. Established contenders. Although they are one of the only teams that has entered the trade market so far on a price tag that seems significant. So, very interested to see their deadline in second half. 3, the NL's muddled wild card race. The New York Metropolitans, the Arizona Diamondbacks, San Diego Padres, man. How did they end up at 50 and 49? I thought we got rid of this. 5 games over, Padres. That's where you should be, and you're just never there. Little limp into the break, and they're missing Tatis. I think Arise had a thumb injury that had him sit out the All-Star game. God, are the Cardinals fun? They were my answer to, we posted our live show today from the All-Star game. We'll walk through All-Star weekend a little bit. We did the question, team you're most excited for their second half. Mine was the Cardinals. And, unfortunately, Cardinals fans, it's twofold. You guys have been in the playoff picture for a while. If it keeps going and you keep winning more games and maybe even play better baseball, because there's a lot of room for growth between Goldschmidt and some other ball players, I think it could be a really fun summer in St. Louis. I also think they have bottom dropout of the ship potential in a big way. That Pythagorean win-loss record-wise, it has them as the second luckiest team in baseball. Which, hey, maybe that is baseball, because last year, no one was saying that the Birds were lucky. But yeah, I would love, if their corners can pick it up, Goldschmidt and Arenado, you have to think so, but you don't know so until it happens. If you ain't know so, you ain't low so. I think that's a rap lyric. Fabulous. Comment below. Reach out in the chat. And then the Pittsburgh Pirates, who, the fact that they're sitting at 500 and the Padres are a game over, the Diamondbacks are a game over, makes the first half a win for Pittsburgh. They do need to go out and make that transaction because they told everyone they would. And so I hope they do. Because Brian Reynolds is really good and has gone nuts. He's got one of those batting stances that when you actually look at it, you're like, baseball's a sicko sport. Like, he is very crouched, very extended, and there's just a lot of muscles popping out in different areas. It's, like, cool to look at, but it's also, like, you picture yourself doing a batting stance, and then you see Brian Reynolds doing a batting stance, and you're like, okay. These two are not the same. Let's see, maybe we might be able to bring that up. I forget if it was from the All-Star game. And a reminder to go check out his... If you haven't seen his all-star announcement to the team, it's as not hype as it can possibly be. Sorry, Brian. Vandy man. God, it's going to be an exciting break for them. Let Pittsburgh get back in the mix. And let me see some playoff percentages that may interest the people. And it shows where computers maybe don't have everything figured out yet. Has the Astros at 57.5% to make the playoffs. I think everyone's leaning that it's a little higher. Mariners at 56.3%. And the Boston Red Sox at 52.8%. The last team over 50%. All the National League teams are tanking each other's percentages. And this is where my frustrations, I guess, get acknowledged. Has the Padres at 39.4% to make the playoffs. How does that happen? It has the Giants just below that 26.4%. Let's see what the second half has to provide. The other team that was just a popular conversation this weekend at the All-Star game, as maybe we talk a little All-Star weekend, even though it's not on the weekend, the week. Those Texas Rangers that hosted the damn thing. No one really knows what to do. We did our trade episode, and we have some Rangers going. When you look at where they're at in the standings, them having that World Series with this front office, it turns into a question of, I don't want to say glass half full, glass half empty. Nothing. If the Texas Rangers did not win the World Series last year or go to the World Series, I think we would all be like, you got to sell, right? They've got a lot of rental pitchers. It hasn't felt like the season. You got to sell, right? With the World Series, I can see either side. Like, hey, we won it last year. We're getting some reinforcements back. Let's get hot and win this thing again. Or if you're the front office, you say, hey, we've got our big investments here. We did win it last year. Let's just get some assets and retool for the next 3 years instead of this year. They are going to be one of the most interesting teams at the trade deadline. And in the next 10 days or so, things are really going to get sorted. I guess that's going to be the fun thing to check in on in a little under 2 weeks, is seeing the treadline season. That 8-2 could change everything, where that 3-7 could blow everything. So let's watch it together. Excited to yuck ball with you guys. I think we are going to have Bailey early next week. Now we'll give you the nitty-gritty John Boy Media behind the scenes at the All-Star game. I flew out Sunday with Beebs. Safe travels in. No qualms on our end. The flight landed at its ideal destination. Remember that. Got in, exciting mode. Oh, my God. The Yankees game.
Yes.
Everyone gets there, and it's, if you've ever gone on a ski trip with friends or you've gone anywhere, a sleepover party, you've got excitement. You're all in the same room. Trevor Plouffe, Chris Rose, all of our New York City JM people. We're having a blast. Let's put on the Yankees game and record Talkin Yanks after. A delicious moment. Ben Rice, the kid, hits a 3-run homer to give the Yankees a lead. The Yankees are about to sweep the Baltimore Orioles. They're about to be first place in the AL East. Their whole losing worst month of baseball about to be erased with one swing in one series. How nice is that? If you don't know what happened. The Yankees ended up losing that game with, I think we landed on a 10 to 20% Clay Holmes, 40% Volpe, 40% Doogie. You can change your numbers a little bit. Ground ball to short would have ended it. That Volpe doesn't make the play on. Fly ball to left that Doogie misplays. So it's tough for Clay, although he has some walks, which we've talked about Clay Holmes in that issue with him, that the Yankees go back. They do win their first series in a month, but I don't know. It was LOL Yanks in there. Literally Zoe, Shelfie, were laughing in our faces, and they both have boisterous content laughs. That those stung a little bit. So, I don't know. I guess in my head I've been excited for Yankees baseball, but I could also go to a dark place real quick this weekend. Against the Rays at home.
Against the Rays at home.
So, we went from all the Yankee fans being hype as heck, let's get an All-Star weekend, to, this... I hate that.
That was the worst loss of the year.
Hey, didn't they do that in 2021 when Chad Green gave up a homer to Houston to get walked off? They did. So whatever. Yankee fans had been so hurt the past month that only hurt us so much. So that was good news. As the rest of the people arrived, Jimmy had a cricket oblo. Oblo? Can't abbreviate that. That some of the crew went to that. Him and Joe's. Also a lot of the behind-the-scenes crew. Trevor Goof, we recorded our Talkin Jake grades episode that I'm glad you guys enjoyed, and make sure you're subbed if you're not. That was a lot of fun. And then me, Chris Rose, and Trev went to the Players Alliance party. I think they were allowed to call it party because it was the night before in Fort Worth. Really cool. Got to see Big C. If you want to see Nervous Jake, go check me out near CC Sabathia. And I want to play it cool because I don't know how in he is. Like, he is in, but then there was a hesitation period, and now he's been in, but we haven't interacted a lot.
Amber's for sure in.
I mean, he's in, but I was interested to see where the convo went. So Chris Rose and CC, kind of boys. Because Chris Rose, big Cleveland fan. And I think CC's such a sports fan that he thinks Chris Rose is kind of cool. And so they've known each other for like 20 plus years now. Because imagine Chris Rose seeing a young, talented lefty on his Guardians.
Early mid-2000s CC in Cleveland.
And that's when Chris Rose was hot in the streets. So
that's the young cool guy from Cleveland.
Yeah. So they were the young Cleveland hot boys list. So they have a good rapport. So that was cool to see. Trev and CC have gained a lot of traction recently because Trev's been trying to get in the like baseball celebrity poker and golf scene. So they've mixed it up a couple times. And so I was kind of being cool. We had a nice dap, and then CC and I forget who it was, but there's an 85-year-old guy there that I don't know. CC was like, "Oh, that dude's a legend, bro." And then he looked at me and he's like, "You need to interview him." And I was like, "Okay, CC." So I need to follow up and see who that was because I couldn't hear his name at the time. And then I guess I need to interview that guy. So that was cool. Let's see. Players Alliance, we're floating around. They announced that we're going to go into another room to like start the ceremony. Because they were honoring a few players. So we start drifting over there. Who bops in? It's Nick Swisher with the energy of 1,000 suns, unbridled. Gave me one of the nicer dap-ups I've ever gotten. And he's like, I think he's pretty plugged in, man. He's like, "Oh, dude, love listening to you guys in Booney, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, that's cool. It's cool to know Swish listens to that. And then he gave a real, like, Nick Swisher looks at the Yankees as a fan, but with front office connections, kind of. That he was like, dude, these guys got to figure it out. Like, what are we doing? He was like, "I love when you guys get a little tough with Boone," because he's like, everyone's asking these same questions. And I was like, that was really cool. Thanks, Swish. Nice. And all sorts of hyper. It's insane that he's actually wired that way. Crazy. So we roll into the back room of this event where things are ticking up. Follow-up note, didn't get a ton of interaction with him. Edwin Jackson, the man. Like Joe Cool himself. Like, I think we all just have, like, vagabond picture Edwin Jackson. Sure, all right. Just the dude, chilling, having a good time.
Part of that career arc is everybody knows him.
welcome in the clubhouse. I'd welcome that guy with open arms. If you can still twirl a couple, why not? Going to the back room, it's a little more of a scene in there. They have like the fake mechanical bull set up. Trev trying to pressure me into doing that. Would have probably been a tough look at the Players Alliance party if I was just bopping around riding the bull. So, didn't. Did not. Walking around there's a gentleman who stands out because he's 6'8", if not taller, massive human, Dylan Betances. So got to dap up with Dylan, asking where Joe's was. Joe's sad he wasn't there because he was at the cricket event. But that was really cool to see how big he was. Trevor Plouffe then reminded me he got a hit off Dylan. I said, oh, nice, dude. Don't care. Bopping around, they start doing the presentations. Some of the guys that were getting awards. Fergie Jenkins, John Boy's favorite. Of course. Keep paper out of baseball. Mark McLemore, sure. Hit a lot. That's all he knows. Gary Matthews, one or two big seasons, and they opened with his famous catch. It's like one of the best home run robberies ever. So they gave him some love. Darren Oliver, sure. He was repping. Prince Fielder. Yeah. Prince Fielder still has a big old presence to him. And I don't know what you guys think Prince's height is, and I'm not coming at him. You know that's not who I am. Not a tall guy. Thick. Was never depicted as a tall guy, but sometimes you still see players and athletes, and you're like, oh, You
still assume, like, yeah, he's probably like 6'2", not crazy.
Prince, not 6'2".
No.
Powerful. One of the highlights there was Trev was trying to yuck his yum. No, I've never used that phrase right. Trev was trying to yuck with Prince's sons who were there. And they're like semi-adults now. And Trev like talked to them once, blah, blah. And I don't think he got the reaction he wanted. So he was like, I'm going to go back in. And he said something about playing. He's like, yeah, I would love playing against your pops. And I think one of them hit him with a, we know who you are. So that was Trev trying to get overly involved. And then I had, I think my coolest moment, I went to the bar to get Trev and Chris Rose a drink, Flex, open bar. And there's this dude looking like the man at the bar because it was kind of cowboy themed, which that goes a lot of different directions because, I don't know, you throw on a hat.
You can do that to different degrees.
You can go stylish cowboy. You could go rugged. You could go, this person just had some black leather on, like the outfit. If you saw this person on a motorcycle, you'd be like, hell yes. Roped up. As I'm walking over to the bar, I only see them out of the corner of my eye, and I'm wondering if it's like a running back. And to my surprise, the person kind of hits me on the shoulder, goes for the dap, and goes, "What's going on, man? Mike Cameron, big fan of your stuff." I was like, "Whoa, Mike Cameron." Mike Cameron. I did like a take back. I was like, "Holy smokes, man." Then I was he like elbowed his wife and he was like, "Yeah, these are some of the people I mix it up with on Twitter every night." And I was like, "I didn't know we were mixing it up on Twitter every night, but I'm glad we are." And yeah, Mike Cameron's involved, man. Roped up, looks huge. That I was trying to find my line, and I hit him with the like, "Dude, I love good defense in center field, and you got to some balls you shouldn't have gotten to." And he kind of like that, but it was a little kiss assy, I'll be honest. But he was awesome. Chatted with him and his wife for a little bit. His wife made a joke about moving to Spain with because Adam Jones is moving to Spain. So update. I don't know if I was supposed to ruin that, if Adam Jones was trying to keep that secret.
If you just listen to that, be chill.
Yeah, just don't report that. Adam Jones, chill. Only got a little bit of him. And yeah, it was a really cool event. Travel day, so everyone's a little tired. We're not putting in a full shift. Let's get back. So we got back. Day 2, record a bunch of stuff. Home run derby. Derby was a little lackluster this year. I think that's the consensus at this point. And then as I've zoomed out more, it would have been cool. Bobby Witt, that final round was cool. And I think the goal was to try to get a more competitive final round. There wasn't a lot of like crazy long homers. That's a big part of the derby. One of Jimmy's theories is also that the way that stadium's set up is it doesn't have like a long homer area. I think it does. The second deck, if you caught one 490, I think you could like leave that, and no one did that. I think 475 was the longest.
The way the cameras were, they made every homer look so long. So I don't think that.
So on TV,
I think on TV,
different experiences.
Yeah. Like a lot looked like they were gonna be way out, and then it's like well shallow.
What?
I
watched an abbreviated version of the All-Star Game on MLB Network last night. Not sure what that's about. It's Craven baseball. Let's get one Thursday game. I don't know what to do with this. Let's get one Thursday game. You give them Friday off or something. Derby is cool. It's pretty crazy where we're at now that we get a lot of love, and that's cool. Nikki Cass was in the building. My guy, Lil Mozzarella. There's also a really cool exchange. Well, actually, it's kind of bad, but it's bad on me. We were trying to get back for the final round of the Derby, so I was running. I met up with Nikki Cass for a minute. So I'm trying to get back to the seats, and this like tall guy, like 6'8", 6'9", young. He's eyeballing me, and he starts doing he's like engaged. He makes a move towards me, so I'm like, all right, here we go. He goes, oh, what's going on, man? My name's blank. I should have looked this up beforehand, and you'll see how I would be able to. He goes, my mom's Jenny Finch. And I was like, wow, okay. Nice to meet you. And he's like, I think you guys posted me the other day. And the guy, he's a pitcher. I should go, Jenny Finch's son. Mm-hmm. Ace, maybe? Yeah, I think Ace. Okay. Coolest name ever for a 6'8" pitcher. What? Whose mom is like the most famous softball pitcher ever. But yeah, he's a real pitching prospect, and I do think we posted him. And I, that nervous like interaction moment, I hit him with I said, what are you up to? Which at the home run derby, kind of a bad question. We're all there for the home run derby. He took that baseball wise, and he goes, oh, about 89. And I was like, wow, we both kind of missed with that one. At least yours is cool. And I hit him with a nice dude. And then Jenny was right behind him and her husband. And I was like, oh my God, so nice to meet you. And I dropped the John Boy media. I didn't know. You never really know. Raced back to the seats, end of the derby. Didn't go to the CAA party with Joes and Trev. Missed out a little bit. Max Fried, Trey Turner, a lot of dudes there. I was tired. Hung at the house. Jimmy made up a backyard golf sort of game that the Ice Boys and Shelfie got roped into. So I enjoyed that. And then final day, our All-Star event. Thank you. If you're anyone that came through, you're the best. One of the guys I've been playing chess with, I got to meet him. So that was cool. One of my old roommates, CJ, came through. Just a ton of good people. It was a lot of good time. Our travel day the next day was awful. Half the crew they took off, got diverted to Chicago. We took off, thought we were going to LaGuardia, got diverted to Pittsburgh. It's just the worst landing time. Everything in the airport just closed. Airport, they gave us vouchers because they moved our flight to the next day, so we got hotel vouchers, but the hotels were less than mid.
Yeah, they provide a free hotel.
Sure.
It's a money-saving operation for them. And I think they're like by law required to give you something. So
It was.
I get how we got there, but it was bad.
Me, Beebs, and Zach went to the only establishment that was open past 11 p.m. As we had to grab our bags before we checked them and got settled into the mid hotels. And then we flew back the next day. And two notable guests. I guess there was three notable guests on our flight, but I only got to see two. Vlad Guerrero, who took a pic with.
Senior.
Got some likes. I was very nervous about. Beebs can attest. Me and Taylor Jackson from Socials, we did a fake drive-by to make it seem like it was a natural interaction. And then I was like, okay, is Vlad about that action? Like, he's at the airport, whatever. And then we came to the conclusion, he was sitting in the chair closest to the walking area, that if Vlad didn't want people saying hi,
if he was going to be like really upset
you
by
don't
that,
pick that chair. You can't pick that chair.
At minimum, he would have had his wife sitting on like the outside seat there.
There's a lot of different ways you could have sliced that.
Or whoever the woman that was there was she looked a lot like Vladdy, if I'm being honest. So genetics, maybe.
Joe Torre was on the flight. Gave him a, hey, how are you, after the awful travel time. He's up there, and we were having a long travel day, so he was having a long travel day. So not a great exchange. He appreciated it by the end. I think he was worried we were going to linger, and I just said, like, Mr. Torre, big Yankee fan, thank you so much. Kept it moving. Gave a nice goodbye. So I think that was his sign of respect. And then Sarah Langs was on our flight, but I didn't really see her. It's when we were leaving the airport for the final time, I saw her. I was like, oh, it's Sarah Langs. So, All-Star Weekend, not weekend recap. Hope you enjoyed it. Did I miss anything, Beebs?
No. And last year, just small world stuff. Last year, on the way to Seattle, she was on our group's flight out.
Look at that.
Someday I'll be able to tell her we've been on a couple flights together.
We share flights. How nice is that? And I think the only thing else that we really share is the fact that Talkin Jake is a production of Dan Patrick Productions, John Boy Media, and Workhouse Media. We'll see you guys Monday.